Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Red Hour, a show I do twice a week where I throw a little chaos into Star Trek by reviewing a random episode. Today's random episode is from the original series. It is season 1, episode 12, The Conscience of the King. And on Paramount Plus, it's listed as the 14th episode because I guess the Menagerie parts 1 and 2 count as 2 episodes, and they're also counting The Cage as the first episode. But we know that The Cage was just an unaired pilot where they kind of snuck in the Menagerie later. So then people later on wanted to know where that came from, where that footage came from. So they eventually released the Cage. I think it was like the 70s somewhere. I think I wasn't around, or if I was like a baby. I was a baby. I was alive in the 70s for half of the year. So anyway, this is half of the last year of the 70s. So anyway, it opens up with we see a guy dressed in what looks to be like medieval type clothes, holding a bloody knife, and he has just stabbed someone, another man. And then the camera pans over to Kirk and another man and an audience, basically revealing that it's a play. And their play they're doing is Macbeth. So, oh, hello, DJ Play Nice. I didn't notice you pop in there. Um, and I've always, just a small comment, I've always liked it when in Star Trek they're watching a play or an opera or some sort of recital, like when Data's playing something or things like that. Um, One of my favorite TNG episodes of all time uh, is the one where Riker is doing a play for Crusher and ends up in like the getting captured by aliens. I forget the name of it, and I'm sure I will it's not. I don't. Damn, I almost had it too. Like it's like a fractured. Almost had it too. Damn it. um. Anyway, so I always like that in Star Trek when they have things like that. It shows like the more them being, they're in their off time, and they what are you saying here, DJ Playlist? Let's get what you said. He's just telling people to share out the show and stuff like that, all the social media things, and I keep forgetting each each time to go on uh, Twitter and remind people that the show is tonight and da 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 da. Because I don't use Twitter, I never have, but I do have a handle. So if you ever want to reach me, it's the Deadman5446. You can at me there at, on X. Anyway, so I've always liked those type of episodes, and um, TOS unfortunately got cut short. So we only have, it's like a slice of life for the crew, right? So we only have uh, a few episodes like this, I'm sure they probably would have done more if they could have. But anyway, the guy next to Kirk is talking to Kirk, and he says that he's certain that the main guy, the main actor, is Kodos the executioner, and this guy has like a patch on his eye that covers his eye and the whole side of his face. So he's been disfigured somehow. So that's the teaser, and then we get a shot, and then we get the theme and the credits, and then we get a shot of the Enterprise orbiting this planet where they were supposed to be on the way to a near. Kirk says it's a nearby Earth colony. We don't know how far, but nearby, where they have some sort of new technology for like growing food and stuff like that, or supposedly. But the guy with the eye patch, we'll just call him eye patch guy. I guess his name is Tom Layton, but I'm just gonna call him eye patch guy to make it easier. He lured them there under false pretenses, and Kirk is pissed off at the guy, and he says that he's certain that it's Kodos, and that he killed 4,000. He says that Kirk says that Kodos is dead. And hello there, Gavin Blackburn. Kirk says that Kodos is dead, and then the eye patch guy says that Kodos killed 4,000, or he butchered 4,000 people on this colony, and he insists that Kodos is alive because he witnessed it, and Kirk was on this colony at the time too. But it's not clear that the body was, I guess the body was burned, or it's not clear that it was really him or whatever. And so this guy is like really insistent on it, and he knows Kirk from the past. So Kirk he's pissed off initially, but he decides to look in on it, and he's checking the Enterprise computer in the conference room, and the actor's name is Anton Caridian, and what's revealed in the information through the computer is that 24 years ago, 50% of the population on the colony, which I failed to write down the name of, was killed, and was killed by Kodos, and then he cross references Anton Caridian, who's an actor he was an actor for the past 9 years, but there were no records of him prior to 20 years ago. So it's unclear whether this guy is really Kodos or not, at least to Kirk. And then we see Spock enter the room, and he tells Spock something, and then he goes down to the planet where there's like a reception or a party of some sort. I guess this is the after play party, and in the music that's playing in the party is like a lounge version or jazz version of the TOS theme. So short, short Starfleet Academy. It's not much of a rant, but in Starfleet Academy, um, one of the earlier episodes, what's his name? The tall, not the Klingon guy, but the other guy, the tall guy, Mister Perfect Hacker, who's in love with the Betazoid, which Admiral T calls 3 of 8, which is not a Borg reference, but he thinks that she's a 3. I would say I'd give her a little bit more than that. She's cute, but Caleb, I see Gavin Blackburn. Caleb throws a piece of trash into the trash can in Admiral or uh, Captain Ake's trash can, and when it goes into the trash can, it goes doo 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 doo. Uh, so people were complaining about that and saying it was stupid, and I think I even said it was stupid. But now I have to say that it's not as stupid because technically the TOS theme exists in this universe, in the Star Trek universe. So maybe it's a song. I don't know. I, I'm sure there's been plenty of fan theories and fiction about this one little instance, but can't really say that the TOS theme doesn't exist in the Star Trek universe because it does. Anyway, enough about Starfleet Academy. Uh, so we hear that theme, and I got lost where the hell I was at. Oh, the he's talking. So Kirk is talking to Anton Cridian's daughter, and basically fishing for information, and wants to meet him face to face. To which she replies that he he's a recluse and doesn't want to. They have a flight in the morning. They're going to go to another colony or whatever and do another place. So they're just a traveling troupe of actors. Did I mention that the play was Macbeth? That the episode started on. So not that it matters, but whatever. So Kirk continues to flirt with her and basically wants to get to know her more, and she kind of like gives him some compliments and kind of like he's a gentleman and a knight with armor, all these things like this. So they agree to go. She agrees to go take a walk with him. As they're walking and they're talking and stuff, they come across a dead guy, and it's Eye Patch guy, Tom Layton. It's Eye Patch guy. He's dead. He's dead, Jim. We don't need McCoy to confirm that. Kirk confirms it himself. So then Kirk um, calls the Enterprise. She walks away, or something. Kirk calls or he tells. I guess he walks away from her. He says, "I'll be right back with her." Calls the Enterprise and tells Uhura to patch him into the captain of the ship that they're going to go on. That's going to take them to the next place, and tells Uhura to scramble the call, and basically asks him for a favor, to which he replies that Kirk has done him many favors, so they know each other, and says to hold to not come to the colony, that he's going to escort them there. So basically, leaving them no choice but to go on the Enterprise. And then Kirk beams up, goes onto the bridge, and now the daughter wants to wants to go onto the bridge, to where Kirk allows it, and then Spock is starting to ask questions because he's not sure what's going on. He asks Kirk how he would know that she would be coming onto the bridge, and he point blank says, "I'm the captain." And then he does his eyebrow thing, which I can't do. Not one. I can't do it. And kind of goes back to his station. So she asks Kirk, she comes to Kirk and says that that guy is not going to pick them up and take them to the next place. And he's kind of giving a performance where, and I hate to admit this too, in Starfleet Academy, there's a episode where they're using theater to go through as a therapy session, and Tilly says theater is like it's statecraft, and I'm forced to agree with that in a way, because sometimes during situations like this, or a first contact situation, or other situations, and we've seen it in other series, the captain or whoever has to put on a certain persona and act a certain way. Picard had to act as if he was in love with Loxana that one time when she got kidnapped. So, and we see it in 2OS, and so I reluctantly have to admit that in Starfleet Academy, they are right about. They're somewhat right about that. So he's basically putting on a performance, saying, that they have regulations, and they, and basically trying to say that, he can't really take them. And she says that she will, how about I barter with you, that she will give a special performance for the crew in exchange for the ride. And he says, okay, he says, oh yeah, my men have not had much entertainment lately, and da 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 da, and basically tries to pretend that he's reluctantly accepting this offer when actually he wants to do the investigation of Kodos. Which is why he told that captain in the first place to not come. Seems pretty obvious, and pretty, they don't spell it out for you, but as an audience, they trust the audience to figure it out on their own, which you don't see that often these days in movies and television. So then Spock's basically asks where they're going, and he tells them the location, and he says, I forget the name of it, Meridia or something. He says that takes them 8 light years off of their course, and Kirk says, I don't need to be reminded of that. And so basically Spock is being kept out of the loop with all of this. So then Kirk goes back to the computer, to a console on the bridge. She leaves, and he goes to the console and asks the computer about information about this this massacre, and says that there's nine. The computer says that there's 9 survivors left, and he asks the computer to name the 9 survivors. One of them is himself, and another is a guy named Riley, who is stationed on the Enterprise. So he tells Spock to put Riley in engineering, to move him down to engineering, to which Spock replies Riley had just been moved up from engineering. And Kirk snaps back and basically says, I want you to put him back down to engineering. Basically, don't. I'm giving you and telling you what I want you to do. You need to do it. And basically, Spock goes to sickbay and talks to McCoy, and he's just kind of questioning why Kirk is doing all these things. And McCoy reminds him that he's the captain and he's allowed to do these, change directions or change people's positions and things like that. So then Kirk takes the daughter to, there's an observation deck above the shuttle bay, which I thought was pretty cool. I think it's the only time we see the inside of that room. You can see it when a shuttle enters the shuttle bay. You can see it, and you can see people in there, which is basically like a control room. And he's talking to her, and now they're starting to fall for each other. And then Spock starts an investigation and asks the computer about these 9 people and cross references with Kodos, and basically finds out what's going on. And he's talking to McCoy, and McCoy says, yeah, he knew about this incident with Kodos, and Spock says, I don't think you know the whole story, and that basically there was a food supply that got attacked by fungus and was largely destroyed, and Kodos had to ration food out, and then he basically pulled a Thanos, right? He saved half of the population by killing the other half, executing them arbitrarily. And his body, and eventually supplies showed up, but his body was never positively ID'd. So Spock believes for sure that this is Kodos. And then all the other witnesses have been killed, except for Kirk and Riley. And it's always when this troupe of actors are around. So that's like his indication that most definitely would have to be Kodos. So then we see Riley down in engineering, and he's all by himself. There's nobody else there. It's almost like a third shift, but it's not. And he's bored and calls up to the bridge to see if somebody could sing him a song or keep him entertained or whatever, to make sure he doesn't go insane, basically. So Uhura starts singing to him, and then we see he's kind of leaning back, not really paying attention, and we see somebody spray something into his drink, which ends up poisoning him. And then, but they they finish the song. Uhura finishes the song and asks Riley what he thinks. No, it's not on the bridge. It's like the recreation or some. It's not on the bridge. I was thinking about a different episode. And uh, there's no response from Riley. He's kind of choking and stuff. So we see him in sick bay, and basically McCoy is working on an antidote, and he brings the report to Spock, and Spock wants to take it immediately to Kirk. But the what he was poisoned with, the chemical is something that's commonly used and could have been accidentally gone into his drink. And Spock says, he doesn't believe it was an accident. He believes he was poisoned on purpose. So they take the report to Kirk, and Spock is basically saying that it's Kodos, and he's going after the last witnesses. And Kirk gets a little defensive because he thinks, well, this is my personal business. And Spock replies that it's not your personal business when it concerns the safety of the crew and the captain. Sort of like when Riker would tell Picard, I can't let you go on this away mission, that type of thing. And even McCoy comes to Spock's defense. And then McCoy is asking him what he's going to do about it if he figures out it is Kodos. And he says he doesn't know that it is because he only saw him one time 20 years ago. And that, he doesn't want to send a man to prison or to his death or whatever the consequences may be based on just logic alone. He wants to talk to him individually and make sure that it's him. Even though our court system is a jury of peers and you would have evidence beyond the shadow of a doubt, but I guess he does seek this evidence. So anyway, McCoy leaves. All of a sudden you hear this really loud sound, and Spock mentions that it sounds like a phaser overload. So Kirk calls out to, I think it's the bridge or security or somebody, I think it's security, that there's a phaser overload in his quarters, and that to evacuate this section. So they're looking around. Spock's looking for the phaser. He's looking for the phaser. He eventually finds it and exits his quarters and opens like this little drawer where he throws it in there. And it's like I couldn't see what it said on it. I rewound it and I couldn't see what it was. Like basically an emergency. The best thing I could come up with is emergency trash can that can somehow withstand an exploding phaser. I don't know. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't read it. It happens so fast that you can't really read it. But I just called it an emergency trash can. So then we see Anton Caridian in his guest quarters, and Kirk finally comes and confronts him, and flat out asks him if he's Kodos, and so basically he's like, what if I were, I can't do the voice and all the acting and all that, but basically Kirk has this piece of paper that he wants him to read that would match his voice with Kodos's voice, and it's a speech that Kodos made when he was about to execute people. And he reads it, and then him and Kirk have this conversation about um, basically the morality of it and what he thought was right and things like that. And then the daughter confronts Kirk and basically says to Kirk that he would be condemning a man and that there's a dent in his armor and all these things. And he says that if it doesn't match, that he will drop them off where they're going, and no harm, no foul. Um, I'm paraphrasing, and she's kind of bitter with Kirk now. She says that he was just using her, and he says at first he was, but then he caught feelings and stuff. Um, she says she's a tool. She is a tool. um, so then, uh, oh, Caridian says, "I hope you got what you needed," and Kirk says he did. He got the recording that he wanted, and then we see sickbay, and Riley is better now. He's made a full recovery, and McCoy is just doing a log, a doctor's log or medical log, and explains what had happened, that Riley was poisoned by what they believe to be Kodos, who killed his family. And Riley hears this and leaves. And he's got a weird, like a scared look on his face. And then we hear a short log where Kirk says that the performance would be taking place as scheduled. And then we see that they have a printout of Kodos, and they have a printout of his speech that Kirk made him read. And Spock says that it's a match. Kirk says that it's not a perfect match. They want to be sure, that this is him before they condemn a man to death or whatever. They don't really explicitly say what the punishment would be, but nonetheless, it'd be in prison for life at the least. So then McCoy looks around and sees that Riley is gone, and informs Kirk that he may have overheard the medical log. And then Kirk sends out a security alert, and the security says that there's a missing phaser from the phaser locker. So Kirk is looking backstage for Riley, and Riley has the phaser, and they spot each other, and Kirk is telling him to go back to sickbay, and Riley refuses to. He says, "That's Kodos, I'm sure of it. I recognize his voice." And Kirk convinces him. He says that you can't be sure. We don't know for sure. And grabs his phaser and orders him to go back to sickbay. And so he goes back to sickbay. Then it's about to be like the third act of the play. They're taking a short break, and the daughter, Anton Caridian, and the daughter are backstage talking, and she tells him that she basically implies that she's going to kill the last two witnesses, being Kirk and Riley. And Kirk overhears this, and he's like, he's surprised to know that she knows who he is, and that basically this confirms everything that they've suspected, and that basically she has been the one that's killed all the witnesses, so that they can continue to live their lives as traveling actors, as a troupe. And then Kirk confronts her and says that the game, the game's up, jig is up, goose is cooked. They finally found me. And she insists on finishing the play, and she's at this point she's starting to fucking lose it. Like, she looks like a fucking complete nut job, which I wrote. She looks like a nut job in my notes. And she Kirk calls for security, and security comes and grabs her. He grabs Kodos, and then she steals the phaser off of the security guy and points it at Kirk, and again is like saying some shit, just crazy shit. And Kodos is basically saying that it's over, that he wants to be done with all this. He's done running. He feels guilty, and she starts to shoot at Kirk, and he jumps in front of her, in front of him, sacrificing himself to save Kirk. And then she has a complete meltdown watching her father die. And, well, I mean, he's dead on impact, but has a complete meltdown. And I think they were doing Hamlet was the next play, and she starts having a meltdown about the conscience of the king and all this shit. And then they carry her off. And then we see on the bridge they're about to leave, and McCoy gives the medical report. And basically, they had wiped her mind of the incident, making her believe that her father is still alive. How they do that, I don't know, and I don't think we ever see this technology again. And then they ask for the heading, and he gives the heading, and they're about to leave, and McCoy says, or asks, you really had feelings for her, you really cared for her, didn't you? And he just stares forward and says nothing, and then gives the he doesn't say engage, but he gives the go ahead to get out of there. And then McCoy just looks at him, looks back at him, and says, I guess that's the answer, and walks away. So I think it's an excellent episode. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's a classic Trek episode, as I said last time. The first season, just every it's like one of those, when you buy one of those albums, like I don't know, Sergeant Pepper's or something, 40 Ounces to Freedom, if you like Sublime, where every song on the album is like really is good, and you don't have to skip through it and stuff like that. That's season 1 of the original series. Every episode is good to one degree or another. Some are better than others. This one's a classic. I think the guest stars were really good. The story's good. Like I said, yes, we're not seeking out new worlds and civilizations, but we have a slice of life type story, which I think you need every once in a while. The only reason I take a point away from it is some of the plot conveniences, like the phase the super trash can that's like immediately right outside Kirk's quarters, um, that we never see again, right? And how did she get the phaser in the first place? And Riley is more understandable because he's part of the crew, but really, people having access to restricted things in Star Trek is a real problem throughout all of Star Trek. And then I guess just Kirk happened to be right there when he's basically confessing everything to her and she's confessing everything to him. Plot conveniences, but nonetheless, a really good episode. And, um, you know, the whole. I remember when Infinity War came out, people were saying that Kodos was Thanos, the first Thanos. They were comparing that uh, this episode to that. uh, Not much else to say about it. It's all contained on the ship mostly. They do go to the planet briefly. I'm glad that when they were doing um, upgrading the effects, I'm glad they didn't pull a George Lucas and, like, when he has a piece of paper, they didn't replace it with like a pad or something, or when you see the printout of the paper, it wasn't like on the screen like you would like it would be in TNG or something. I'm glad they stuck to that. So, uh, and it shows a progression of technology from TOS to TNG, and the movies in between. So, overall, good. It's basically a murder mystery and a little bit of just a character study, um, mostly involving Kirk. And I like that he kept Spock out of the loop at first and played his cards close to the chest. Uh, like I said, when he first when he confronts Kodos in his quarters, and they talk about the morality stuff and what if I were Kodos and what would you do, and just the overall that dialogue is just really good. Um, it's up with some of the best of TOS. So, even though it's a great episode, there's not much I want to say about it. But anyway, let's see what DJ Play Nice and Gavin are saying. One of these days, I'll go to the eye doctor and not have to do this. It's more cool than wrong. I think that was when I was talking about the TOS theme. And that was DJ Play Nice saying that. Gavin Blackburn saying Macbeth, Hot Potato, Orchestra stalls, Puck will make amends. I've never seen Macbeth, I don't think. No, I saw the. Is that the Mel Gibson did the movie? Or was that Hamlet? I think that was Hamlet. If we shadows have offended. But that's Midsummer. Haven't seen that. Don't. Film Actors Guild. Lenore was upset because game recognizes game. She was happy to use Kirk to murder Riley. Right, exactly, right? Uh, yeah, she's mad at Kirk for him using her, but she was gonna use him. She was gonna murder him. So go fuck yourself, bitch. Um, and and she gets really crazy eyed towards the end. The actress did a really good job of with the meltdown and the just going nuts. Gavin Blackburn says that finance man could get access to the bridge in the TNG episode Neutral Zone. Yeah. Plus, what's his name? Max Headroom. Well, they kind of let him have that stuff. But yeah, the finance dude in Neutral Zone was. People walk in on the bridge in TNG like it's nothing. You would think it would be locked or it would be. You'd have to have a pass or something. Uh, but I don't know. Anyway, so to the portion of the night, and I did it again, guys. So I ended up on lower decks somehow. So let's press the randomize again. I don't really care for this episode. And I don't think I've done it. No. It's TNG season 1. TNG season 1, episode 16. Too short a season. Uh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't like this one. Is that the Admiral or the guy? That's the guy and the wife who where we see Picard like they're in Paris and shit, and you have the old guy who there's some kind of he's something wrong with him. I don't remember. I think that's the one. I'm pretty sure I don't like this episode. Um, so that'll be tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unless something stupid happens, I'm supposed to be on vacation still, and of course, work found a way for me to have to come in to work tomorrow when I'm supposed to not be working tomorrow. And it was one of those things that like we're heavily implying that you can't refuse this. Uh just fucking bullshit, but I should it's not it's only supposed to be a half a day or a few hours. So I should be here to do the episode. And then I'm not sure about next week, but I'm going to plan on sticking with the same schedule Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. I hope that does not change. I hope that the things that were causing the problems before are resolved. Um, my, but of course, they found a way to make me have to come in when I'm supposed to be off tomorrow. but I should be here. Um, so thanks, Gavin Blackburn and DJ Playlines for showing up. Uh, Thanks for anybody that's lurking, and thank you for anyone that watches in the future. Please be sure to give a like and put a comment and share it if you feel like you have a friend or somebody that you're like, hey, this guy does reviews. You might like this. Well, share it with somebody if you think that maybe somebody would be interested in the random episode reviews. Have a good night.